Gunpla is doomed. But in the darkness, there is a single shining light. A 2-inch hero made not of plastic, but of limestone. Yeah, well, this is Gunpla-kun. So I suppose I've never really thought about it until kind of looking at this product right here, but everything made out of plastic when it comes to hobbies, that's Gunpla, Zoids, Warhammer 40,000, all of that stuff is essentially doomed because people are moving away from plastic. With the climate change and all of that stuff, our favorite hobby is essentially doomed. If you've ever wondered why companies like Games Workshop or even Bandai themselves don't really release enough kits for everyone to get, you might be like, well, they can't keep up with the demand. Or is it they don't want to stretch themselves too far, worrying when their countries are going to hit them with the plastic ban hammer? Because it is going to happen. So this kit right here is made out of stuff called Limex, which is well, it's mainly plastic, so I guess it's only a step in the direction. But yeah, this is Gunpla-kun. Let's talk about him. So when you get the box cracked open of Gunpla-kun right here, we do have 3 runners. One part did fall off the runner on me, but what we got is this one right here, which is G1, which is all the color separated parts. Actually, both are color separated. This is mainly just the head right here. And then we've got runner G2. Again, the color separation is quite good. We've got the bottoms of the feet and everything, but there is some things that will need to be painted if you want it color accurate, like the hands right here, the rifle, etc. Now this stuff is made out of Bandai's Limex, which is kind of like a plastic that has limestone infused into it, so it uses less plastic than your average kit. So it does have a unique, almost kind of soft, felt or velvety feel to it. Lastly then, we've got this runner G, which is also runner A, kind of confusing there, but this you don't actually cut out at all. This is a way of displaying Gunpla-kun. Now I'm going to jump forward to till later on in the video so you can see what this looks like. It'll be a little easier to tell what it is then, but yeah, you can just load everything up on this just like you would have seen on the net animation. So it's interesting actually working with this Limex stuff because it's not exactly like plastic, but it is very, very similar. For the most part, the snipping out is the same. But I did notice that one of my super lazy but effective techniques that I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well does not work. That is when you snip off a part and you're like, oh shit, I got a bit of a kind of stress mark there. They just give it a bit of a rub of the nail, and usually in normal plastic that will just disappear. That's not the case with Limex, so that stays like that. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to sand or file. So which leads me to the next thing I usually use. I usually use a Racer by Gun Primer in order to clean up knobs or any kind of like screw ups while I'm going along. So it will definitely be interesting if this even works on Limex or not. So kind of, not really. It is a bit scratchy. Gonna have to use the usual run-of-the-mill sanded stick. Man, seriously, this shit doesn't take kindly to being sanded whatsoever. Okay, so it seems like it just kicks off a lot of white dust, which kind of looks like it's not entirely cleaned up. So I give it the old spit shine, and yeah, okay. Maybe wet sanding is the way to go. So far, the color separation is really nice. The only thing we've had to add so far is one sticker, which was added onto the red segment of the face to do that kind of black section around the Gundam's eyes. But besides that, everything we're seeing so far is in color, seems quite accurate. There's a nice click to the Limex when you're attaching everything together. So far, everything's nice and smooth. Might want to grayify the inside of that. Man, this thing looks absolutely fantastic and attaches together very, very nice. It's both simple and nicely detailed at the same time. Honestly, that's brilliant. The V-fin here does have those little safety knobs up top, those things so you don't poke out your eye, but I'll leave them on for now and maybe I'll take them off if I'm going to give this guy a little bit of extra color to keep it accurate. Anyway, getting that on, and there we go. Gunpla-kun. So building this up is both simple and absolute perfection. It's a lot of nice little blocky parts. They don't really move that much. The limestone aspect of this particular plastic just feels kind of cool. It's definitely a little different, a little harder to work with, but what you get in the end is some nice angles, a nice matte finish, and it feels really nice in the hand, almost cold to the touch, like stone. Now moving on to the limbs, and these are just absolutely ridiculous. They're so tiny, they're only ball joints up top. Let's get them built. So now moving on to these smaller little segments, which would, like smaller segments tend to have a lot more knobbage, mold lines, etc. There's a lot of detail on the little leg, which means there's a lot of mold lines, kind of like you'd see with Warhammer figures or minifigures, because they pop so much detail on tiny parts. There's a mold line running through the entire thing and you have to kind of work around it. Now I've used a multitude of different nub removing techniques here, from the old nail scrape all the way to sanding with finer grit and then hitting it with the balancer by gun primer at the end to kind of get the polish to it. I've also tried scratching it and slicing it with a hobby knife like you would with Warhammer, and the only thing I found that really works is going through the grits of sandpaper and finishing off with something like the balancer for that polish towards the end. So it's like essentially working with stone. However, when it comes to the really small details between parts, like on the little leg right here, between the little elements like the knee and whatnot, it is really hard. You're never going to fit a balancer or a file or anything like that in there, so you're going to need some tiny little sanding boards and sticks. So continuing on with the build here, and when it comes to the arms, these are probably one of the most detailed aspects of this particular kit, and they are all one part. So that does mean a lot of mold lines, quite a few nubs, and a lot of cleanup with this kind of new style of plastic that really scratches quite easily. In the end, I've just kind of defaulted to using 2 files. That's one that's quite abrasive to get the mold lines and whatnot off, and then one that's a little bit smoother that I've had for some time that's like really worn out, that tends to leave a nice kind of finish on it. So that's what I've been going with so far. Last up in here, we've got the little accessories, including his backpack, the beam rifle, which is in blue, funnily enough, because there are, or should I say is, no black or grey plastic in this kit, and we do have a little beam saber as well as a shield. So finally then, the final assembly of this little fella. There we've got the little body. The legs just attach on underneath the skirting here into these little holes like so. So this one here, this one in here. The central hole there is for using with the included stand. Those legs are absolutely ridiculous. I fucking love it. There is the arm. And even though this isn't fully color accurate, so far, it is incredibly nice to look at. Would be nice to see one of these in a kind of like MGSD kind of style, most definitely. But this is super cute, especially for a new style mascot character. So the backpack adapter is the opposite to a standard one. It just goes on that way, even though it is much smaller. And there is the body. Now let's finish it off with this absolute mammoth of a cranium. Look at that. Perfection. So now jumping into the aesthetics, and there's what the Gunpla Kun DX set looks like once it's put together. This is straight built, I haven't done anything with it, mainly because I'm not necessarily sure how the Limex here works with various different pan liners, paints, etc. So I just decided to go plain for the review. Now this is really one little impressive kit, considering just how little is actually going into it. It is not 100% fully accurate compared to what Gunpla Kun should look like. The biggest standout things to me that aren't color accurate aren't even that big of a deal. Just with the body of the mobile suit here, all you need to do is put some grey on the hands, some grey on the backpack round back, and then you need some grey inside the vents on either side of the head. But otherwise, the color accuracy here is absolutely ridiculously good. Of course, like I mentioned, there are some mold lines all over the place that will need some cleaning up, but besides that, this is one impressive little guy. The colors on here are very vivid, and this Limex plastic is very interesting. This is my first time ever seeing something made out of it. This, to the look, almost looks like vinyl or something like that. You know, like if you get a soft vinyl figure, a sofubi kind of thing, they always have a kind of almost soft, matte kind of finish to them, and that's what this looks like right here. And it's even soft to the touch, while at the same time quite hard feeling. So soft surface, but hard material. Honestly, if you're looking for a little kind of mascot character for on your desk, this looks absolutely fun. This is a unique take on the Oryx 78-2. When it comes to the accessories with the Gunpla Kun DX set right here, what we get inside is the usual Gundam loadout of sword, board, and beam rifle. We get a little stand for holding Gunpla Kun on, and finally we do get this runner as well, which is a kind of display sort of stand as well. This is probably the most unique aspect about this particular kit. So when it comes to the accessories in here, there is no kind of swappable hands, because as you can see, the arms are just all one piece, like what we're seeing right here. The holding hands here are not your usual size holding hands. These just seem to be a little hole. Maybe not even 3mm. Let's test. Gonna be kind of gentle here because this Limex stuff is not that strong. Now that's more probably like a 2mm hole. But speaking of holes, Gunpla Kun has got one right down here. So this is for using with its stand. But before I do, I'm going to test it with a standard stand to see if it works. And yes, it most certainly does. So if you really have the need to have Gunpla Kun flying high, you can attach him onto any 3mm peg kind of stand like Good Smile Company's simple stand right here. So if it just stand on the ground isn't enough for you, you want him up high, this is what you can use. But as for the stand we actually get in here, it's just this small little simple square of the exact same plastic Gunpla Kun is made out of himself. So it may kind of blur into the actual kit itself once it's attached on. Let's see, let's pop them on. There's the legs lined up, so if you want them just standing there, this you can use just like so. Super simple. And speaking of super simple, the exact same goes for the weapons. The beam saber is all in white, so if you do want it to resemble a beam saber, you're going to have to paint it pink. It just slots on into the hand like so, and without any additional effort, it's just going to be a little white baton like what you're seeing here. Next up then we've got the shield. This has a little bit of a clip, so I don't think this will be fitting onto the backpack. I'm guessing it clips onto the upper arm right here. Yeah, it seems to. And that is what the shield looks like. Again, this isn't color accurate, it's just all in red. It's meant to be white around the outside with some detailing on it. Yellow on that big kind of cross logo there. But yeah, it's just all in red out of box. So lastly then we've got the beam rifle. Now as far as I can tell there is no storage for any of these weapons, so once they're detached all you can do is leave them off. There is the beam saber, and as you can see once again an extremely simple design. It is in blue, which is not color accurate. This should be grey, but there is no grey plastic inside of this box. So yeah, it's just a flat little beam saber. Attaching it into the hand is the same as everything else, so it just pops on in just like so, and there really isn't much to say about this. It's like a beam saber, but it's absolutely tiny, and it's extremely blue. So when it comes to the accessories in here, nothing is quite as unique as this right here. What looks like a runner of parts for snipping out, but it is not. This is a display stand, and a pretty cool one at that. So this is to display Gunpla Kun like he appears in the net anime, so let's get it done. First off, we will have to get Gunpla Kun disassembled down to his elements. So that would be the head like so, both of the arms, left and right, then the legs, and I assume the torso and waist is all one piece because as far as I know, they do not come apart. Okay, so first off, this little slot right here, this is for the beam saber, so the beam saber gets displayed on this. The legs then attach onto these segments just like this. The arms pop on by holding on, which is pretty interesting. So the top one pops on. Nope, that's not that one. The arms attach on by holding on, so there's little hand attachment points. So the tiny little hands just grab onto these little parts like so. Whoops, that's fucking broken forever. Damn, that Limex is brittle. Next up, the backpack attaches on just like so. The body then pops on to this side like that. The head attaches on up here like so. And interesting enough, this part over here is not part of it. This is meant to come out here, so let's get snipping. Okay, so this seems like some kind of apparatus that goes together like this. Must clip on, little bit spins round. You can attach the shield and the beam rifle just like this. And then that clips onto the Gunpla Kun runner like that. So you've got yourself a little bit of a stand so you can display Gunpla Kun on the runner just like that. And that is absolutely and utterly cute. And anyway, there's what it will look like up on a shelf once it is finished. So is this the future of Gunpla? It's definitely going to be somewhat to do with it, I assume. Bandai is putting the time into this right here. They do want to obviously move away from plastic eventually. So will limestone be the key? So far, it's working out pretty good for a simple kit like this. It is brittle, easy to actually bend out of shape, so not a complete product just yet. But something tells me Bandai is going to get it done. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. Once again, this video right here, and none of these videos would be possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and special thanks to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and here on the channel memberships, including 10 Soldier YT, Caleb Engelhart, Dashil Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, Org59061, and Van Fawn.